How does a defeated nation hide its humiliation? By boycotting its own economic interests. After the strategic humiliation suffered at Pakistan's hands in the recent escalation, India in sheer desperation launched a campaign urging its citizens to boycott tourism and trade with Turkey, Azerbaijan and Bangladesh, countries whose only crime was their refusal to support India's aggressive narrative. But can a wounded nation afford economic self-sabotage? India's own statistics scream no. Just last year, nearly 330,000 Indian tourists flooded Turkey, and Indian visits to Azerbaijan doubled, nearly 243,000 tourists in 2024 alone. Now suddenly, the Indian government and nationalist media personalities like billionaire industrialist Harsh Goenka want citizens to stop visiting these countries. Ironically, such boycotts will hit India's own tourism industry hardest, directly impacting Indian travel companies like Easy My Trip and Ixigo, which profit significantly from these tourism ties. And what about trade? In 2023-24 alone, India exported goods worth over $6.65 billion to Turkey, textiles, machinery, electronics, all integral to India's economic lifeline. In return, India imported critical products valued at nearly $3.78 billion. Who suffers more from severing these ties? Certainly not Turkey, with its $1.32 trillion economy easily absorbing such a minor jolt. It's Indian businesses, Indian workers and Indian industries who stand to lose billions overnight. And Azerbaijan. India's trade with Baku stands at $1.44 billion, dominated by critical oil imports worth over $1.23 billion. India was Azerbaijan's third largest crude oil customer, receiving 7.6% of its total exports. Who is going to fill that energy gap? India again forced to buy oil elsewhere at higher prices. Azerbaijan, meanwhile, can simply shift its exports elsewhere, barely noticing India's absence. Now here's a crucial question. Why target only Turkey, Azerbaijan and Bangladesh? Why didn't India boycott the United States, China or Russia, major global powers who stayed neutral or urged restraint during the recent conflict? The United States openly called for dialogue. Trump termed Indian attack a shame. China labeled the entire situation as regrettable, and Russia urged peaceful resolutions. Did India dare challenge them? No. The answer is clear. India is selectively bullying smaller nations it perceives as weaker, exposing New Delhi's hypocrisy and sheer desperation. It is also noteworthy that China and USA are India's biggest trade partners. International voices also reflect India's diplomatic isolation. Only Israel openly backed India's stance. A fascist standing behind another fascist is not a surprise. Meanwhile, Turkey's foreign minister Hakan Fidan called Pakistan's foreign minister to express solidarity against India's aggression. Azerbaijan officially condemned India's military actions. Gulf states, including Oman, publicly praised Pakistan's courageous defense. Even Bangladesh chose neutrality, urging restraint, refusing to echo India's aggressive narrative. And yet, India selectively targeted these smaller nations, not because it could effectively punish them, but simply to distract its public from its catastrophic strategic and diplomatic defeat. The global community saw India's actions for what they were: illogical, emotional responses from a state embarrassed on the international stage. As social media amplifies this boycott, India's internal frustration have been exposed. Analysts note this campaign as mere face-saving. Indian newspapers themselves questioned this logic, reminding readers that the economic repercussions would hurt India's own pockets far more than Turkey or Azerbaijan's. Major Indian travel companies have already begun reporting severe financial setbacks from cancellations and lost business opportunities. In reality, this boycott underscores India's own weakness. Instead of building bridges, India is burning its economic lifelines. Instead of reflecting strength, this boycott campaign loudly announces India's desperation, its diplomatic isolation, and a clear lack of strategic foresight. In the words of international observers, India's boycott goes nowhere. It neither punishes these nations meaningfully nor improves India's strategic standing. Instead, it merely punishes the Indian economy, Indian businesses, and ultimately, the Indian people themselves. This is the story of a defeated nation, desperate to regain face, harming no one but itself. The global community can see clearly India's boycott isn't strategic. It is suicidal. This is Amara Farat Baloch, and you're watching Nexus Bulletin.